Waiting for all you guys to get in, but once you do, let me know, say what's up, and we'll get this thing going because I am going to talk a little bit through on FanDuel. Okay, so FanDuel's a little bit different than DK today. My favorite pitchers on FanDuel are Alcantara and so why did I lose my train of thought here? Alcantara and 7,400. Why am I missing this one? Sorry about this, guys. I'm just a little bit shaky. Alex Wood and Alcantara, one or the other will be my pitcher. I like the Cincinnati stack today. I like, and I think it's easier to get the Dodgers in over there. And I like the Dodgers and Cincinnati are probably my two favorites on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it's a little bit different, and we got to figure out this Yankee thing. I mean, this is a weird slate. We have the questionable. We don't know who the Yankees are going to play, they're going to bat even. Their players are going to lock possibly before they get a lineup out. So that's going to be tricky. We've got the rain concerns in the Seattle-Baltimore game, which I think is an issue, and I'm a little worried about it. I like San Diego as a mini stack or a full stack, but I think the mini stack is more the route I would go. I like the Dodgers, obviously, but again, I'm just maybe not quite as high on them as some of the rest of the field. And I like both sides of Seattle-Baltimore, and that's going to be a tricky one to navigate. I also think St. Louis deserves a couple looks. My pitchers are going to be Manaea and Liberator. I can never pronounce this guy's name. And Gonsolin. Those are my three favorite pitchers. You guys can tell if you checked out my core plays. And then in terms of the position players that I'm maybe using as one-offs, I was going to use Gorman quite a bit. He's not in the lineup today for St. Louis, so that's out and makes the stack a little bit less interesting because his price kind of made a lot of things work. But in terms of the hitters, I really like let me just grab why doesn't it have my core? Oh, there we go. I'm on the wrong slate. And again, it's going to be mixtures, but I'm going to do the mini stacking thing again a little bit with the Dodgers and maybe use the popular stacks that are going to be like, I think that I'm just going to avoid the Braves other than Acuna one-offs and maybe a two-man stack. I'm just treating the top stacks like I just can't play that much chalk. And the Dodgers are going to be under-owned tonight for what it's worth. So that's what we've got at least currently. And I'm going to probably go with that, even though I don't like these full stacks as much as maybe I usually would. And that's where I'm at. Any Keegan Thompson is a good question. I currently have none, but I definitely am open to it. I don't really, let me just take a quick look at what I've got for my notes on him. Where I didn't even have Keegan Thompson as in the slate. Am I missing something? I honestly don't know where that is. What am I missing here? I don't know why I have no. Oh, wait. Well, I'm sorry for the Cubs. No, I have no interest in Keegan Thompson. I mean, well, no, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to do it. It's just not. It's his projection is does seem bizarrely low, and he's been really good. But it's a tough lineup. He is, righty and all that stuff, so he's got that working for him. But I'm not as high personally on Keegan Thompson. I just think there's other guys who I'd rather play than Keegan tonight. I don't know why I missed that one. For some reason, I had a different pitcher in my original report, so that's why I didn't have that one registered there. But I think it's okay. I do hope the Seattle-Baltimore game goes. I think we have to treat it as a stack or fade kind of a thing. At least get like 3 or 4 players from that game if you're going to play one. I just don't think it's an optimal move to do. So I am not going to do that unless Roth goes ahead and gives it the go ahead and all that. I am going to be on the Coors mostly fade train. I'm seeing ownerships that are just crazy. And I'll take 2-mans from the Braves. I actually like Ian Anderson as a pitcher. I think Ian Anderson is a really good low-owned play. I still am not as high on this Rockies offense in general. They've had some fortunate matchups. And yeah, that's what I'm doing anyway. I've got most of my lineups are guys who are not playing today, so I'm going to have to go back and edit those. It's Thursday, getaway day, normal stuff. I want to talk some NBA, but I'm waiting for the NBA people to come on in. Thoughts on San Diego? I do like San Diego. I have a lot of 3-man San Diego stacks. I like Voit. I like the price on Grisham. I don't care that he's batting 7th. I think he's much more. He's been horrible this year. He's a much more talented player, but he's homered in 2 of his last 4 games. Maybe he's starting to find himself a little bit. I like his matchup specifically with Hauser. Luke Voigt has also been horrible. How has everybody for San Diego been horrible, and yet they're winning a ton of games? That's kind of a little bit worrisome as a Dodger fan. Machado's been amazing, but and Machado would be my favorite, obviously, of the bunch. But I do like San Diego as a mini stack more than a full stack. And that's sort of what I've got a lot of. I've got some 3-man San Diegos. I've got some. I mentioned only 2 Braves are. I'm sort of cutting it off at 2, and then I'm very high on the Dodgers. And I also don't mind a little bit. If you want to get exposure to the other side, maybe play a little bit of the Milwaukee, but more it's just specific bats that fit in price-wise and are a little too cheap that I think you can squeeze in. And I'm probably going to have to edit some of my Seattle-Baltimore things because I am a little worried about that one. I just want to make sure I have 3 or 4 players from that game if I'm playing any at all, because otherwise it's got to be like a stack or fade situation for me with the weather being questionable. Unless, again, shout out to Kevin Roth. I will be getting out of here at 6:30 Eastern because I want to basically I want to make sure. And by the way, why is this not popping up in our general? It hasn't been working, and it's kind of frustrating. Like we need to make sure to get this to work because it's not popping up, so people aren't seeing that we're live now. So anyway, all right. So what else were we talking about? So I want to get into my NBA thoughts, but we had some people that were asking me in chat, and I want to wait till they get in and pop in some questions because the NBA is a really interesting NBA slate. If you're going to try and play showdown and all that stuff, I think that, the huge tournaments and everything, it's really hard to win, all that stuff. I am going to be taking shots on guys who very well may be DNP CDs. So that's just what I'm doing. Guys like, I mean, we're still waiting to hear for sure about what's going to happen with Peyton. I think Peyton's the obvious guy you spend out on. That's going to be the chalky one. But what about Bielitsa as well? I think you could play those 2 guys and actually get away with it. I think I could see a path where both of them are on the court for more than they're being projected for. And again, Bielitsa is just speculation at this point on my part. But let me go to my starting lineups page here. And I'm sorry, guys, it's taking me just a little bit scattered today. A lot of stuff going on. All right. So Bielitsa is not going to project for anything because I don't think he's expected to play. Are they going to try and match their big with big? If Porter was out, it would be better. I don't know what they're going to do. Golden State is always that weird team, but to get that weird little value, maybe they do go with Bielitsa a little bit. What if Looney gets in foul trouble? What if Draymond gets in foul trouble? What if Draymond gets ejected? These are all real things. Oh, look, it popped up in Discord finally, so people are joining us. So I think Bielitsa is a good speculative play. I think you could go with Moody or Iguodala as speculative plays. Obviously, the Gary Payton is I think a little more than a speculative play because if Gary Payton's a go, I think that they're going to use him because you can really pressure this Celtics team. The one huge advantage I see for the Warriors, the Celtics, this might be the furthest I've ever seen a team go that doesn't have a guy who can really dribble. Like, it's a weird thing to say, but like Derek White is probably their best ball handler. That's kind of nuts. Like, you just don't see that very often for teams in the finals. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with that and if they're going to be able to create that ball pressure. And I think Peyton would be the number one guy to do it because Curry, as much as he's an underrated defender, it's not really his game. You certainly don't want him pressing guys full court. Clay just has been Curry's become the better defender. Clay has been really bad, but I expect him to return to his normal form next year. I just think it's asking a little too much for him to be that good right now. Wiggins can put some ball pressure on, but I think Peyton, if you put Peyton and Draymond out there, it's going to be a very good defensive unit they have. You're going to have to sacrifice some minutes from Looney, Wiggins, Clay, etc. So that's stuff that I'm going. That's what I'm going to do is get weird with those guys. In terms of the guys I'm actually playing that are chalky and captaining, so I like Draymond as a captain option. I wish he was a little bit like I was getting more of a discount to go away because I think if I play these other guys, I can sort of fit in Clay, Tatum, or Brown. I'm going with Brown above Tatum for game 1. That's just my take. I think they're going to go out there and try and shut him down, at least in the first game. They're not going to want Tatum to go off, and I think it's going to become a Jaylen Brown game. I also like Jaylen Brown in up-pace environments. This is certainly one of those. And the spread is actually increased to 4 now. Wow, it's jumped a little bit more even. The really weird speculative play I have for Boston would be, I don't even think it's that weird. It's just the price is hard to get to, but both Pritchard and Williams I think are more in play maybe than we realize. There also is that weird blowout run that you could always get for Pritchard if there somehow ends up a blowout one way or the other, especially if it's the Warriors blowing out the Celtics. So those are the guys who I think might get some more run there. As I mentioned, Bielitsa, Gary Payton. Those are the spend downs for me. I have a Bjelica captain lineup. I don't think you need to. That's the thing, is it's just so easy to get him into a regular spot, but I do have one or two, just to be honest. It's too crazy, but again, you have to get crazy. You're trying to win $1 million playing against 1 million people. How are you going to do it? You got to do something crazy, and that's what I'm doing a little bit of. But it just doesn't quite sit right with me. I think Gary Payton would be the better weird captain play. But I think that Bjelica might be the more clever regular play, because Gary Payton's going to be owned. Bjelica is not, because he's literally not projecting on most sites. And that is just enough of a reason for myself to just get super speculative. And maybe it doesn't happen game one, but I am going to take Bjelica's over on minutes in this series. And by the way, he did play quite a bit at the end of that Dallas series. We didn't have Porter then, so it's a little different, and we didn't have Payton either, but it's just the size. I think that you could see him out there stretching out Horford and Williams, keeping them away from the basket, opening up the lanes and all of that stuff. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, back to baseball for a second. The Liberator. I know everyone wants to play Minaya. I think Minaya and Gonsolin together are fine pairings. I am personally on the side to try to fade a little bit of the Minaya, just because I think the ownership is maybe outweighing the situation. And I think the guys like Ian Anderson, Liberator, who I mentioned, if the Seattle game goes, I would consider flexing a very, very strong play, but I just don't know if it's going to go. And there's also some pop-up delays and stuff like that we worry about. And the thing that I like about flexing is he has a leash, he can throw 100 pitches, and he's playing against Baltimore, who just scored 1 million runs. And congrats to any of those of you who listened to me yesterday about the Baltimore stack. I'm ashamed to say that I went away from it a little bit at the end. Ended up, my pivot lineup would have finished second in the 888, which is kind of like that one hurt. You know what I mean? It cost an extra 40,000, whatever it was, maybe 50,000. I don't know. So you're saying they're pushing a lot of 5-man. Yeah. You know what? Everybody's going to push 5-man Brave stacks. I'm not going to play a team that's going to be this might be one of the highest owned for like a more than 7-game slate of the whole season that you're going to see on a team. I've Braves projections in like the 50s for percentage owned. I can't do it. Just not going to be able to do it, guys. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to make that move. Again, my take is to sort of get to it. Also, I don't think Gomber's as bad as people. I know he has some up and down games, but I'm just not going to play that kind of chalk. I do like Ian Anderson in that game. So if you do play the Braves chalk, I think you can play Ian Anderson as a weird pitcher. Like Ian Anderson's projecting for like 8 fantasy points, 9 fantasy points. Ian Anderson should get double-digit points here almost all the time. And this is not a lineup that I'm terribly afraid of. So I actually like Anderson as the get weird play. I know he's regressed a little bit this year, but I do think that he's better than he's shown. The Dodgers, for some reason, against Pittsburgh, they can't beat Pittsburgh. They can beat everybody else. They smoke everybody else in baseball, but Pittsburgh owns them. I don't know why. There's no logical conclusion that I come up. Maybe they're a little, I don't know. And they're also kind of banged. They've been banged up a little bit. No months. I mean, he's been bad. He was bad and then he was hurt. Bellinger's been hurt and bad. There's some logic there, but it is weird to see the Dodgers getting smoked by this Pittsburgh team. Like, I don't know what's going on with that. The Dodgers are going to be lower owned tonight. So this is a good spot, in my opinion, to take them. I am not playing the Braves. I'm not going to do it. I will have 2-man stacks. I will not have any full Brave stacks. Kobe's got ended with a lot of Wiggins at captain. I don't mind that. I don't love it, but I don't mind it. I'm a little bit higher on Draymond than I am on I think this is a good series for Draymond. Now, you always run the risk with Draymond. You get foul trouble, huge risk. Ejection, total risk. I do think there is some risk for Draymond in this series, but I think this is also a Draymond type of matchup. Like, he's going to have to be physical down low. So maybe if you're going to try Bjelica, maybe not as much Draymond in those lineups, because I do think that you could argue that the size and you're sort of hoping for foul trouble a little bit to get Bjelica in there. So maybe that's the way you could sort of divide that one up. But it's going to be a fun series. Who do you guys like in this series? This is the hardest I've ever felt in picking a series. I've been pretty damn good at picking most series throughout the playoffs. I did have the Dallas and Golden State. I thought that would be a 7-game series. I was wrong about that. But I basically had won every round, kind of. You know what I mean? It was like I thought that Miami and Boston was going to be a flip a coin. I could see Boston winning in 6, and I could see Golden State winning in 4 or 7. Like, I really think it could go any which way. My guess as of right now is that it's going to be. I'm just going to be the lame guy that says Golden State in 7, but I'm curious who you guys like here. I actually could see Golden State winning the series easily, a lot more than I could see Boston winning the series easily. And I just can't get over this notion that we've got this team that has, I mean, Boston's an awesome team. They're defensively one of the all-time, like, legitimately in this era to do what they're doing defensively is unbelievable. I don't know how much that matters if the Warriors are hot, to be honest with you. I think the Warriors are just one of those teams that, even if the Warriors were like an 8 seed this year, they're the team that can always make the finals. They can win 4 games. And one thing that people don't realize, the Warriors actually defend at a team and on a team basis at a higher level. And it's because of continuity. That's the one thing that this finals really screams is like, look at the continuity. You know, you've got the 2 teams that have been together basically the longest of any units in the NBA. And that's why they're here. That's what got them here. But it's very strange to me to have a guy that really can't dribble. I mean, there is not a good ball handler, even for their position, for Boston. Tatum is fine. Brown is meh. Probably a little bit worse, you know, especially like bringing the ball up court. Marcus Smart is definitely one of the worst handling point guards in the NBA. So it's just kind of weird. I've just never seen this happen before, but they're a really good team. They're all really good players. If Miami wasn't hurt, do I still think Boston makes the finals? I think so. I think Boston was the better team in that series. I think Miami is just the gem. They're the chef's kiss of organizations. They just do everything perfectly. Butler is, we know he goes to a different level. He was terrible in 3 games, awesome in 4. But it's just, I don't know. I do think Boston's the better team, but I don't think it's by much. I think that the series ended sort of the way that, you know, it was going to end. One of those teams were going to win in that sort of form. I'm not predicting that Bjelica is going to get a lot of run in this game. There's a very good chance Bjelica plays 0 minutes, but you want a low-owned play that can pay off for you in this series, and a guy who I could see, especially as the series goes on, maybe getting more and more minutes. So maybe it's a little premature, but I'm going to take that gamble to try and win $1 million tonight and use a lot of Bjelica. But do I expect him to get a lot of run in this game? No. I think that if there's foul trouble, I think to match up with Boston's size, that he will end up on the court at some point in the series significantly more. So if I had advice to any bettors, just bet the over on Bjelica every game and increase it as the games go, as the series goes on, unless his over-unders go up. So that is the big gamble. You know, the Bjelica is my big gamble play, as Rhodey's mentioning. You need to have that big gamble if you're playing for $1 million. That's the guy who I think you do it with. I also don't think it's going to be quite as low owned as everybody thinks. Even though he doesn't have a projection, he's going to be the lowest owned of these guys. And I think maybe you could even try lineups with he and Peyton, maybe play a little blowout situation. Jaylen Brown on one side, Peyton, those 2 guys. And then you put, Steph or Clay in and hoping they get hot, expanding the lead to 25. And then those other guys clean up and play the last, 12 minutes of the game, the fourth quarter or something like that. It's just angles you got to take. You got to play a game flow scenario to try to get creative. But yeah, obviously Tatum, Steph are good plays. Like I'm not here to do that for you. I'm here to say Jaylen Brown is my preferred guy over Jason Tatum because the ownership. Jaylen Brown is a captain I will be using. Steph Curry is a captain I'll be using, but again, going to have Bjelica in those lineups, a lot of them, and Gary Payton. Draymond is the captain that probably the one my first inclination was to go with Draymond as captain in this matchup. Everybody else has a worse matchup in a way than he does. Because Draymond sort of offensively, he's sort of everything, so it's not like it doesn't really matter if Horford or Robert Williams is necessarily guarding him because you're not asking him to score. You're asking him to set up other people. And then defensively, I do think the ball pressure could become an issue. And I could see the Celtics having some turnovers. Draymond may be involved in that sense as well. I also expect him, if not Bjelica or Looney having a big game, I think that you're gonna see Draymond with a ton of rebounds tonight. So that's my call for tonight. Does Kuminga get some run? I think it's unlikely that Kuminga gets run, but again, it's unlikely that Bjelica gets run. They don't need to play these guys. They're very deep. They're deeper than they have been, and those guys weren't always getting run. It was just fluctuating even when they were there. So yeah, could he? Of course, Kuminga could get some run. But again, I would rather play the other guys who I think have a better chance at getting run. And I think Kuminga is but again, it's always speculative game 1. So that's kind of a fun time to do it, right? Like we want to speculate, get some Kuminga into your mixes. You know what I mean? Get some Moody into your mixes, get some Bjelica into your mixes. Now don't do all of them together. The only two that I can co-sign together would probably be Peyton. I guess Peyton Kuminga or Peyton Bjelica is probably where I would go. Yeah, I think Derek White's fine as a play. I don't feel great about it. I don't think Robert Williams is healthy, but they're playing him anyway. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with that, I guess. That's the best way I can answer that question. Top 4 SP on DK. Flexen, that game is still very much in question. So my top 4 owned right now are Liberatore, Anderson, Flexen, and Gonsolin, but those are going to change very likely very soon. Once I get the Roth weather report at 6:30, and I know we do our own stuff here at True DFS, but the one thing we don't have is a weatherman. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to get out of here in a minute so I can get some of my baseball lineups edited. I will be in Discord all night. I'm here to answer all your guys' questions. Make sure to tag me. NBA, MLB. It's going to be a fun night. I'm excited to get this final started. And I am out tomorrow, as I mentioned, a number of things. So I'm sorry I'm not going to be here with y'all. But I'm out Friday, Saturday, and then I'll be back next week on Monday and probably out next Wednesday. It's going to be one of those kind of times, a lot of family stuff going on. So sorry about that, but I guess better that it happens in the summer when we've got less sports going. All right. Anybody else with any questions before I get out of here? I do appreciate you all, and I want to take this time to say thank you. It does feel like a Friday to me because it's my last show of the week, so I'm going to have a little glass of wine, and I'll wait to see if there's any other questions that pop on in there. Looks like we got nothing. Thanks a lot, Nick. Appreciate it, buddy. I really appreciate all you guys. You guys have been an awesome and very supportive, and I really appreciate it. And I'm just sorry not to be there with you guys. And hopefully this stuff will get better. It's on the way up. It's been a hard time. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. And I am going to get out of here unless there's any questions. If there's not, I think I'm out. So I'm going to say good luck. And somebody take something down tonight. Let's win all the money. The Yankees, you can stack the Yankees. You're going to be completely speculating on who you play. So the Yankees, did they actually release a lineup? How can they release a lineup in the first? Okay. I am not extremely high on the Yankees. I like Aaron Judge. I like Andahar for the price. I guess a 1 through 4 I like. I'm totally okay with them. I just prefer going with the Dodgers personally. That's just where I'm at. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. And good luck to everybody tonight. And we'll see some of you guys hopefully at the top of the leaderboards. Let's win a tournament.